Hello and welcome to the Daily Mill for Wednesday, the 6th of August 2025. In today's Millwall news, there isn't much Millwall news around today, so I thought I would take this opportunity in the calm of the storm before the season starts to do the season preview. And what we're going to do is we're going to look at a number of things. Stats, lists, transfers in, transfers out, the league table from last year, and then we're going to look at predictions that other people are predicting in terms of the table 1 to 24, and then I will do my own one at the end of the video. If you're watching this live as it goes out, you can't skip to the end, but if you skip to the end, you'll get my predictions for the season. Leave yours in the comments below. Or whatever, say what you say and mean what you do. Now, this is from experimental361.com. Covered this before. It's the squad retention. What is it? It's the percentage of 24-25 league minutes accumulated by players still at each club. Each segment is a player which resides proportionally to minutes played last season. In descending order, going clockwise, dark shaded segments indicate players still at the club, and light shaded segments are those who have left the club. The number in the middle is the number of minutes that is still at the club. Minutes. So players, but the minutes that they played that is still at the club. So what this means is players who they've kept most of their players. Now, is that good or bad? If you're keeping bad players, probably not that good. Obviously, if your players are shit, you need to get rid of them. So it's probably good that you let them all go, but you should have brought new ones in who are better. So when we look at the team that's got the most players that they've kept, that's Coventry with 95.5%. But then you look at Wrexham and we've 92.5%. Well, Wrexham have just come up, and it looks like they've just let go some of their substitute players, kept all of their probably top 15 players, and they've just added to the team. Is that going to be enough to keep them up? Don't know. Maybe they're waiting until this transfer window goes on until the 1st of September. So maybe they will wait until they'll give the players a chance to show themselves. Are they good enough at this level in the first 4 games of the season? And then they'll make a decision and say, well, not really, so we'll have to move them on before the 1st of September. But this has been updated. The date is there, updated on at 7 a.m. on the 5th of August, so yesterday morning, and you can see poor old Sheffield Wednesday 46.7%. The 1st, 3rd, 4th, 6th, and 7th most played players have left. Number 2 and number 4, so that's interesting. So one of these must be Barry Bannon. I'm assuming number 2. Hull, again, they're under a transfer embargo, 57.4%. Poor old Preston, 61.5%. I think one of them that's gone is their Emil Reese striker. So them 2 main players have gone. But again, how old were they? Did they need to go? Were they good enough? Preston were in a little bit of a relegation battle. Norwich, interesting one with Norwich. They let 3 players go. They kept most of everyone else. But the business that Norwich have done is very interesting in that they conceded far too many. They had the 2nd top scorers last season in the league, but they conceded so many goals. And they've decided, look, none of our goalkeepers are good enough. So they bombed them all out. They let one's contract run out. One's gone out on loan. They've transfer listed George Long, but he's still there. And they brought in, I think, 2 other keepers. They're not happy with the keepers, so they just get rid of them. That's the plan. They had a plan in mind, and they've done it. So let's see if that improves them. Maybe that helps them out. I don't know. Obviously this is Millwall channel, so let's talk about Millwall. 72.9%. The main one to go is George Saville. I think we were trying to keep him. They did try to keep him, but he wouldn't have been the 4th most played player this season. Various others gone there. The 3 there you can see is probably Aaron Connolly, George Honeyman, and what would that be? Probably Liam Roberts, maybe, I don't know. But they're gone. And 72.9%. and we've added players back to the team. So, you know, we have improved the team, I think. Certainly. So there's that. Now, we got this from besoccer.com. And this is... I was flicking through this before and I noticed on the Millwall one, they didn't have George Saville. And for some reason they had George Evans as a transfer coming in. So I'm not sure how... This clearly isn't 100% guaranteed to be true. But it's good enough. It's good enough. There may be some players missing. So let's go through. Players in, players out. Birmingham City. Okay. Few in. Free loans in. Obviously. We've only got one loan in at the moment, haven't we? That's the Bender guy. And they've got, players out. Interesting. So they spent 9 million. This is in euros. 9 million euros for a Hashi. That's a lot of money. Blackburn Rovers, 4 in, a few out, some very good ones out as well. Tyrese Dolan, he's gone to Spain somewhere. But they have got Vyman out, Danny Baff out, and they're quite old. So Bristol City, they brought in that goalkeeper that we were trying to get on loan, but we ended up getting Bender, and they brought in Emil Reese from Preston, who can score goals, and again another goalkeeper, Joe Lumley. So weirdly, a lot of clubs going for goalkeepers this window. I don't know if there's some kind of problem with goalkeepers in this country. I don't know, but a lot moving around. Is that going to be good enough for them? Only 3 players in, 2 goalkeepers and a striker. And then again, I don't know how comprehensive this is, and 3 players out. Charlton need to bring in a lot of players, and they have, because they barely scraped through the playoffs in League One. They brought in former Millwall striker Isaac Olofi, 1.8 million euros from Stockport. They brought in Kaminsky, the goalkeeper, Kelman, which is a funny one. He was at Leyton Orient as top striker in League One. They spent 3.5 million euros on him. That's a lot of money for a player that's not proven in the Championship. Now, as long as they get into the player's head that, okay, if we go down, like, you have to stay, like, you're not going to go anywhere, so you're here. If we do well this season, you're staying. If we don't and we go down in League One, you're staying as well. So there you go. Coventry City, now, like as we just mentioned, they haven't had a big turnover of players, but they brought in Carl Rushworth, goalkeeper on loan from Brighton. Again, try and improve the goalkeeping department. A lot of that going on, like I said. So is that going to be enough? And they've paid money, 4 million euros for Kane Kessler. They did pretty well last year. They did do pretty well. Derby County, they brought in a load of players, but it's going to be enough. Spent a load of money on Aguimang, 6.9 million euros. But again, they brought in a lot of old players. Carlton Morrison, is he like 32, 31, something like that? Danny Baff, he must be 34, 35. Vyman, he must be like 36. That's a lot of players. Now, they might start the season well, but at the end of the season, how are those players going to do? And Ryan Brewster, he went from Liverpool to Sheffield United, didn't really do it there. So that's not really worked out for him. Now he's moved on to Derby County. Again, interesting one. Hull, they are under the transfer embargo until the end of next summer. So they've got free transfers and loans. I don't believe they can pay a fee for a player. So you look at all these players going out because they need to make money. Man, there you go. That's going to be interesting to watch. Surely they're going to be down the bottom there. Ipswich Town, obviously we got Luongo from them. They spent 11.5 million euros on Matis Soir. They brought in Kipri on loan from wherever that is. Stade Rennes. And this one baffles me. Ashley Young on a free transfer. Again, 40-year-old fullback. Like, Femi Aziz, rub your hands together, mate, because you're going to rip him a new one. 40-year-old fullback. What's the plan there? And like, yeah, it seems they're like throwing money at it just to go. They were trying to get straight back up right now. Leicester City, they haven't done anything. They let 2 players go to Wrexham, who they're in the same league with, and they've only brought in Begovic. Was he like 42-year-old goalkeeper? Again, goalkeeper. Players, people signing goalkeeper. David Button from up here, Ipswich Town, goalkeeper. Everyone with the goalkeepers. So yeah, what's going on at Leicester? Financial fair play thing's still going through. It's taking so long. I don't know why it takes so long, but I think even if that comes through, I think they're looking at like 9 points. Someone said so. It's only minus 9 points, which isn't anything if you've got a really good team. So yeah, Middlesbrough, 6.4 million for Josh Coburn. That's euros. And what have they done with that? Kante, they brought in Kante for 3 million euros. They brought in Callum Britton from Blackburn. And he's replaced Dick Steele. So again, is that an improvement for them? Here's Millwall stuff, and I mentioned, so you can see Millwall stuff, like they've listed George Evans as a player coming in. I don't know what that's about. And then they've only got Connolly and George Honeyman leaving. They haven't got any of the others. They haven't got George Saville leaving. Or they haven't got Liam Roberts going to Mansfield. So again, the list, there must be players missing, because we know there are missing ones for Millwall. Here's Norwich City, their signings. This is interesting stuff. Sands went out the door, and then they spent money on other players, so they used that money. The other geezer's still there, but is he gonna go? The American guy, whatever his name is. They brought in 2 Serbs. I think they brought in a Serbian keeper from Sporting. They brought in Serbian midfielder who was at Vojvodina, I mentioned him the other day. They brought in Jeffrey Schlupp that we were linked with from Palace. So this looks like a big improvement for Norwich. They're already the second highest scorers in the league. If they can put the cherry on top with a decent goalkeeper that isn't really bad, they might do something. Now, here's the thing with Oxford, finances probably not the best. I think they're one of the smallest clubs in the division. They haven't even got proper ground, only 3-sided ground. They're trying to build a new ground, but the council ain't having it. They brought in a striker on loan from Tottenham Hotspurs. And, a loan from Fulham, other loan as well. And then they released McCracker, and he's old, and he's about 33 now, is he? So again, if the loan players work, could be okay. If not, Portsmouth, they were in the relegation places a long time last season, and they managed to get the way out of it. They stuck with the manager. They didn't panic. They didn't fire him. Is this going to be enough to stay up next season? They brought in John Swift on a free transfer from WBA. Bianchi on loan from Swansea. That's interesting. So Swansea are loaning within the division against a team who they could be competing down there with. Obviously, I think Swansea probably think they're better than that, which is why they loaned him to him. But I mean, hubris and all that could come back to haunt you. Preston North End. Again, not the best. It looks like they've lost quite a few talented players here. Interestingly, to higher clubs. K Best, I think is that Kieran Best or something like Kieran Best, gone to Chelsea on a free transfer. Freddie Woodman gone to Liverpool. The goalkeeper, Freddie Woodman, gone to Liverpool. To be, is he the third or fourth choice? Is he a training goalkeeper? I don't know, but they spent money on Erdel Afire from Brighton, 1.6 million euros. Michael Smith on a free transfer. Obviously, he bailed out of Sheffield Wednesday as he's entitled to under breach of his contract. And a few other transfers as well. Is that going to be enough to help them stay up? Queen's Park Rangers, they got that Poku, who's very highly sought after from Peterborough. A few other players, but other than that, I don't know. They're literally not much else going on there. Like, they sold Kelman, but they haven't spent that money. Morgan Fox, defender we were linked with, ended up going to Wigan. Sheffield United, Kiefer Moore, gone. We weren't linked with him this time, which was a surprise. They managed to get 2.3 million euros from Wrexham for Kiefer Moore. That is a good bit of business there for Sheffield United. And again, so they're clearly not happy with their strikers. They got rid of Kiefer Moore, they got rid of Ryan Brewster, and they ended up bringing in Louis Barry, who's on loan. He is attacking player, not an out-and-out striker, but he's up there. They transferred out Medjedic for 6.9 million euros. Was that Fenerbahce? I don't know. And they've sold Vinny Souza, so they sold some players because probably they expected to go straight back up. Didn't happen for them, and that's the thing. Everyone going, Premier League teams come down, they got all this money, it's unfair because they're going to go straight back up. Did Luton go straight back up? Nah, they got relegated. Did Sheffield United go straight back up? Nah, they're still here. So, poor old Sheffield Wednesday. Look at all these players gone. There's probably more than that as well. I think there is more. As it says see more. What does that do? Oh, it goes to the page. Okay, yeah, no. All these players have gone from Sheffield Wednesday. They haven't brought anyone in. They're not allowed to bring anyone in. They're basically playing their youth team, I think. So I don't know how their youth team is going to function. I guess they promote everyone up. So the under 21s become the first team, the under 18s become the under 21s, the under 16s become the under 18s, so on and so on and so on. Southampton, again, all these players gone. They're gone. Adios. Ciao. Bye-bye. And they've only brought in one player, Damien Downs, 8 million euros from, is that Kaiserslautern? Ramsdale's gone. Again, loan, so maybe they think they're going to go back up. Good luck with that. He's on loan to Newcastle. Carl Walker-Peters left on a free. Joe Lumley gone on a free to Bristol City. So, players out the door for Southampton. They think they're good enough for the Championship. Interesting stuff. Stoke. Again, they've gone for the Tottenham loan. They got Aaron Cresswell on a free transfer from West Ham. That Tolarov geezer was pretty decent when he came in. I think he hasn't been that Plymouth that long. Is that the guy who came in late in January and helped them kind of looked a bit good? I think they've signed him. Yeah. Players out: Nathan Lowe, Emery Tesgal, Lyndon Gooch. So again, massive turnover at Stoke. Swansea City only one in, Ethan Galbraith. 4 out, including Yates. Again, kind of weird. Why would you loan a player to a team in your own league? Don't make no sense to me. But especially, Paulson from Swansea, they might be competing. Watford. Oh Mama is coming for 1.3 million euros. And some other players that can't pronounce the name, don't even know where they're from, never heard of them. So was this like Football Manager signings? Like, who are these? Who are you? I don't know. Porteous has gone. Other players have gone. Ratkovic, who looked pretty decent, he's the striker, yeah. So they sold him. He's off for 3 million euros. So they're selling some players and bringing other players in for the money that they just got for the players that they just sold. West Bromwich Albion, again, not much business here. 2 in, 2 out. Obviously, I'm sure there's others, but so interesting. They spend money on Hegabo and Campbell, and that's quite a bit of money there. 8 million euros. Wrexham, clearly they need to improve the team. I think they know that, and they have spent some money. Is that going to be good enough? Good enough to stay up? These are decent Championship players, but I wouldn't say this is a team to compete at the top of the league. I'm not sure about that, but I think, they want to stay up. So there you go. So there's the transfers that we've got from besoccer.com. Now we're moving on to this. I was looking for one of these for so long, and literally today I found it when I'm just about to make this video. This is from fantasyfootballscout.co.uk. Not my cup of tea. I don't do fantasy football. It's too much. It's too much, isn't it? It's too much. Even though I know EFL have launched its fantasy football that started last season, and now, which again, they do it where it's multi-league. Well, I would have just preferred one that's championship, but I don't want to learn about League 2 and League 1 to figure out what players to sign. But that's what this website's about, is they get the information and they tell you, I'll pick this player, so you don't really have to, do that much in depth. Now, that geezer there is apparently the QPR manager. He's French. I don't know if he speaks English. They've appointed some random Frenchman to be their manager. Weird. So yeah, but why am I on this website? Well, one of the autistic people that run this website has put together a spreadsheet of pre-season games for championship teams. So yeah, we can obviously pre-season doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It don't matter. But we're going to go through the results and have a look. So Birmingham City, who are supposed to be the best thing since sliced bread, they're so fantastic. They did beat Sevilla early on, but Sevilla's probably just come back. They lost to Burton. They lost to Northampton in away games. They did beat Nottingham Forest at home last week. Jay Stansfield, never going to give him up. He scored a goal. Blackburn Rovers, they beat Elche. We didn't beat Elche. We lost to Elche. They beat Elche. But again, we heavily used our youngsters in pre-season to have a good look at them, to see how they've grown, how they improve, what standard they're at. Did these teams do that? Did they go full first team all the time, all the way? Did they rotate it? We have no idea. I'm just looking at the results, but also the goal scorers. So there you go. So this Maktar Gay for Blackburn Rovers, scored a couple of goals. They lost to NEC Nederland of the Netherlands 3-1 last week. Bristol City, they beat Real Valladolid 4-0. That Emil Rees scored. He scored 2 against Plymouth in a 2-0 win. So Emil Rees, decent player. They brought him in to score some goals, and he seems to be doing that in pre-season. Charlton Athletic. Interesting. So they have decided to pick on smaller teams, not pick on anyone their own size. They have played Ipswich, but I don't know how they played Ipswich if Ipswich in this league. I'm assuming that must have been abroad, because unless that was behind closed doors and it had been announced, which I think you can do. So they did lose to Ipswich 2-1. Bit cheeky, because you're playing Ipswich twice. Isaac Loffey scored 2 goals. Sonny Carey scored 2 goals. So they beat Dartford 3-2. And in the last week, they beat Southend United 3-0. Southend United, I believe, currently on the National League. Coventry City, they got smashed by AS Monaco way back. Last week, they drew with St. Pauli. And they drew with Real Betis. Not bad. Derby County, they brought in all those players, but they haven't played anyone decent really in pre-season. They played Salzburg, but that was way back early in July. They beat Solihull Moors 4-2. They beat Atramitos, whoever that is. Sounds Greek to me. Beat them 2-0. Corey Blackett-Taylor getting 2 goals. Oh, he's taking the penalties. He's a defender taking the penalties. He scored 4 goals. He scored in every game. He scored 5 goals. He scored in every game. So if you do fantasy football, there's a guy, a defender taking a penalty, and he scored 3 penalties, and he scored in the other 2 games as well. Was that free kicks, or I don't know, was he scored from corners or something? Hull City, Hull City. Oh, they're in trouble. They're up. Oh, it's going to be bad. They haven't lost in pre-season. They're under a transfer embargo. They haven't lost in pre-season. They played Sunderland. Premier League Sunderland. They played Getafe, drew 0-0. That was last week. They played Kasımpaşa, which I think is Turkish. Beat them 1-0. And beat Stockport County 1-0. So, Hull City, unbeaten in pre-season. Ipswich Town, everyone's favourites. They beat Auxerre last week 3-0. That was away. What else have we got? They beat, again, that game at Charlton. They beat Aberdeen. And then they went to Austria and they won there 4-1. Again, they did keep a clean sheet in the last game, but other than that, Leicester City, very impressive, no? They beat Fiorentina. Now, Fiorentina, famous name. I don't know how good they are at the moment. Jordan Ayew scored 3 goals. They beat Hood Everly Leuven 2-1. They beat ZTE. They beat Karpati, whoever they are. But they lost to Cologne 2-1. Now Middlesbrough, poor old Middlesbrough. They haven't won in pre-season. They drew 3-3 with Mansfield. Yeah. They lost to Bradford City. Not Bradford Park Avenue, Bradford City. They drew with Rangers 2-2. They drew with Hartlepool 1-1. And they drew Deportivo La Coruña 2-2. And Tommy Conway, the player that they brought in to replace Josh Coburn, because they thought Conway's fantastic, he scored 3 goals. But they haven't won. Here's Millwall. Obviously, defeats to Palace and Elche. But, man, look at the goals. Beat Northampton Town 3-0. Beat Wimbledon 3... Wasn't it 3 or 4-0? Again, is this accurate? I swear it was 4-0. Maybe I'm going nuts. Mandela effect. Have you heard of that? Yeah, check that out. Yeah, we beat Bromley 2-1. Beat Sutton 6-2. Beat Estoril 3-0. But look at the goals. Coburn, 3 goals. Ivanovic, 3 goals. Emaku, 3 goals. Ivanovic, goals up here that I missed. To add 1 each to them. There's goals there. There is goals there, mate. There's goals there. Norwich City, again, they've just signed a load of players. They have to get adjusted. They have to get adapted. Can they do that quickly enough to start getting points? Hopefully not before this weekend. Hopefully that they still play like strangers on Saturday. But they did win 2-0 against NAC Breda. Josh Sargent scored. That's the guy I was talking about before that I didn't know his name. But other than that, they've been playing some big teams, it looks like. Dutch teams, and Olympiacos, they lost 3-0. They didn't beat any of them, so I don't know how good they thought they were. But yeah, not that. What else have we got? Let's go down. Oxford, poor Oxford. They went to Indonesia. Did you see? The players were, was it Gary Rowett was on an elephant and they were going through town? That was funny to watch. Obviously, they beat them 6-3. And then they beat that team 3-0. Was that worth it? What was the point of that? But then you come out, they beat Malaga 3-0. They drew with Leganes. Old Bradshaw scored a couple. He scored 3 altogether in pre-season. If they can get something out of him, and keep him on the pitch, maybe that's enough for them to stay up. Now Portsmouth. Again, they decided not to play that many hard teams. Keep it easy, keep it local. Woking, Farnborough, Crawley, Reading. So much like, Charlton playing the local teams. But they did last week play against PSC Zwolle. And they did win that 1-0. So, there you go. That's something. Now that Josh Murphy of Portsmouth had the most assists last season in the league. So, if they can keep him fit, they might be able to do something. Poor old Preston. Here we go. Look at poor old Preston. They beat Chorley, but they lost all the other games except for Getafe 0-0. So that's another 0-0 with Getafe. I think that's their favourite score, Getafe. They love a 0-0. Poor old Preston. They aren't even scoring. For the last 3 pre-season games, they haven't scored a goal. But although one was against Man City, but one was against Bolton, and one was against Getafe, they did score a goal against Liverpool. I think that was a game that was on ITV with the Diego Jota goal. Diego Jota, memorial game, wasn't it? Something like that. QPR. Again, not many clean sheets here. A couple. One against Stevenage. That Karamoko Dembele, he seems to be scoring. Scored against Cardiff. They scored against Aaron Veen. And he scored a couple against Stevenage. So maybe that's one to keep an eye on. But they lost at home last week to Brentford 1-0. Sheffield Wednesday. Poor old Sheffield Wednesday. They only had one official game in front of a crowd. Lincoln United. Lincoln United, not even Lincoln City. Bruh, if they lost to Lincoln United, that's rough. Because they're not even, I think that means they mean Lincoln City, unless Lincoln City have changed their name, I don't know. Sheffield United, banging the goals in, but, when they play the first decent team they play, Nice, they lost 3-2. But yeah. So Kiefer Moore scored a couple. But look, that Emadjovic scored, but he's gone now. So he scored in the 15th of July and he's gone. He's out the door. Louis Barry scored against Chesterfield, but, no clean sheet. Or one clean sheet against Rotherham. Playing poor teams, can't keep a clean sheet. Southampton, aren't they fantastic? Oh, they're going to win the league, aren't they? Yeah, probably not. Probably not, looking at this. They drew 2-2 with Brighton. Brighton, a Premier League team. They lost to Espanyol. They drew with Castellon. They drew with Valenciennes. And they beat Eastleigh 2-1. Stoke City. What have they got there? Again, a mixed bag for them. Not much going on there. They did beat Burnley 1-0. Again, maybe that's... and they drew with Stoke 1-1. So maybe they're not that bad. Maybe they are not that bad. Okay, here we go. Swansea City. Ooh, poor old Swansea City. Who, loaned a player to Portsmouth. They lost to Lorient. Not Leyton Orient. Lorient of France. 3-1. Lost to Exeter. And lost to Cheltenham Town. But they did beat Stevenage 3-2, but that was in Spain. And they have a player called Bobby Wales playing for Swansea City. How apt. Watford. Who, are they going to be poor? Again, they kept it local until the 30th of July. Did I not have a game on the 2nd? They did beat Deportivo La Coruña 1-0. Obviously, the Spanish teams are behind in their pre-season compared to us, English teams. They drew Leyton Orient 1-1. They drew for AFC Wimbledon, which is a big alarm bell because we absolutely smashed AFC Wimbledon. But they did beat Boreham Wood 2-0. Okay. Who else have we got? This is the last two, isn't it? I believe so. Yeah. Finally there. Nearly there. What have we got here? So West Bromwich Albion beats Port Vale 2-0. They played Dynamo Kiev in Austria. 1-1 draw. They lost to Blackpool away. They lost to Lincoln City away. Although Carlon Grant scored a couple of goals. But they did beat Rayo Vallecano, but 3-2. Again, can't keep a clean sheet. That's not good. Now Wrexham. Old Wrexham, the TV boys. They're going to smash the league. They're going to get promoted to the Premier League. And it's going to make really good television, except they aren't very good. They did beat Melbourne Victory 3-0, but they lost to Sydney FC. They lost to Wellington Phoenix. Although, to be fair, I believe those teams are in the middle of their seasons, so they would have been fully up to speed, and Wrexham would not, because it's just pre-season. And then, for some reason, they played 2 games on the same day against FC Groningen. I'm assuming that they filled different 11s in each game. I have no idea. Kind of weird, but, whatever. But they lost twice, so 1-0 in the first game and 3-1 in the second game. So there you go. So you've seen all of the pre-season results. Again, fully comprehensive, but I don't know how accurate it is. Now, we're moving on to this. What are we doing? Yeah. So I want to show you the season from last season, the table. So it's always said, the teams come down, they've now got an unfair advantage. The 3 teams that come down, they go straight back up. One of them went back up. That was Burnley. And they finished second on goal difference. Now, they were impressive. The other team, Sheffield United, they had a minus 2 point deduction. But that would have given them 92 points. They finished third. They didn't go through the playoffs. The team that went through the playoffs was Sunderland, or Sunderland. And look at their final games of the season. They lost 5 in a row because they were guaranteed 4th place. They couldn't have. There's a massive gap between 3rd and 4th and 4th and 5th. They were guaranteed 4th. There was nothing they could do. So they played it smart and they just saw out the season, went through the motions, and concentrated on the playoffs, and it worked out for them. They ended up going up. But the other team that came down from the Premier League finished in 3rd bottom. They got relegated. So, yeah, it's not always the way. And we'll find out what the way is later on in a minute. But what I want to show you, so let's do some sorting, because we can change this by clicking buttons. So these are the teams with the most wins in the league. And, there we go. We've jumped up a place. We've gone up to 6th place. We've got 18 wins, 12 draws, 16 defeats, 18 wins. The teams that got in the playoffs, Bristol City had less than us, but they drew more games. But they had less wins than us. You got Coventry with 20, Sunderland with 21, 28. That's probably a bit too much to transform. But to get to 21, that's 3 more. Going for defeats, the team with the fewest defeats, Burnley, only 2. Leeds, they lost 4 games. But again, you can see, other than Coventry, who had a really bizarre season, they only drew 9 games. They won 20, but lost 17. So they were literally going out, guns a-blazing to win the game. And if they didn't win it, they ended up losing. It is what it is. We're trying to win games here. They ended up getting 20 wins. They ended up finishing 5th. There you go. Easy-ozy. But you can see, the top 5 places in the fewest defeats are up there. We are just outside, but quite a big difference there between us and the team above us. West Brom lost 12 games last season, and we lost 16. They drew 19 games. Obviously, said it before, drawing games in this division will not get you up the table. You need more points. The best strategy is to win games, even if you lose games by trying to win games, as Coventry proved. If you have 2 games in a row, you win one, you lose one. Oh my God, we lost the game. Oh my God, it's all bad. Oh, you got 3 points from 2 games. If you draw a game and you draw a game, you get 2 points from 2 games. You get more points by winning and losing than by drawing and drawing. So West Brom, 19 draws, but they only lost 12 games. But here's the thing, here's the kicker. When you reverse it, the teams with the most defeats are at the bottom of the table. Luton lost the most games. They ended up going down. Plymouth lost 22 games. second most. They ended up going down. In Cardiff, 20 games. They were away, but their problem was not winning games. In terms of not losing games, so draws matter when you're at the bottom of the table and you're trying to avoid defeat and avoid going down. So not losing games and drawing games is good for you if you're at the bottom, if you're the trash at the bottom. When you're trying to win, when you're trying to go up, when you're trying to get in the playoffs, drawing does not help you. You need wins. You need to convert losses and draws into wins. You need to win games. If you have more wins, you're at the top of the table. Fact. That's how it goes. And another thing. So you would think, you need to score goals. You need to score goals. Here we go. Look at this. It's not about scoring goals. Team that scored the most goals, yeah, that's Leeds. They won the league. They scored a hell of a lot of goals. They scored 95. The next best team, that's a hell of a drop. 71 goals. That's Norwich. They finished 13th. They scored 71 goals. They scored more than Burnley, but they didn't finish above them. They scored more than Coventry, didn't finish above them. They scored more than all of these teams, and they did not finish above them. They still finished in 13th. And what you need to look at is the defence. Because if you look, I've sorted it by the fewest goals conceded, goals against. Who's at the top of the table? The teams that finished in the top 4 are the top 4 best defences. Fact. Now that was last season. I went through going back to 2020-21, and 2020-21 was the last time that it was again all top 4 teams would have had the best 4 defences. But since that year and this year or last year, it's pretty similar that it doesn't correlate that having the best defence in the league means you finish higher up the table. It is about defence. But here's the thing. So you look at where we finished. We scored 47 in 46 games. That's not good. We conceded 49. So we're up there, We got one of the best defences in the league. If you compare that to Sunderland, who finished 4th, by the way. So they got 21 wins, 13 draws and 12 defeats, scoring 58 goals and only conceding 44. And even though they lost the last 5 games of the season, so before those games, they would have had 5 less defeats. So they would have been on, what would that be, 8? 7? No, 8. Yeah. No, 7. We only need to, if we score 11 more goals, we're up to where Sunderland are. If we concede 5 less goals, we're up to where Sunderland are. It's not that big a gap. It is to Burnley, it is to Leeds, it is to Sheffield United, but it isn't to Sunderland. It's not that big of a gap, And we won more games in Bristol, but they ended up getting in there. But we had a better defence than them. They had a better attack than us. And even Coventry, we had a better defence than Coventry. But they only drew 9 games, so they won 20. And that got them in there. That got them in 5th place. But we don't have to improve that much. We just need to turn either the defeats or the draws into, I would say, 3 more wins. We just need 3 more wins, which would be 9 points, which would take us on 75, and that would take us up there. Now, here's the thing. Now we have, the Coburn, Ivanovic, Aziz, and all these Negley, others, attacking players, Doughty with his set pieces. Last season, the problem with scoring is that when we conceded, it was hard for us to go and then score 2 goals to win the game. Now, if we concede a goal, let's say we go a goal up, it goes to 1-1, yeah, we could there is a belief that we could score a second and we could win 2-1. Or even if we're a goal down, like, we can come back. We can equalise, then we can go on and win the game. We have the attack to do it. So yeah, this is not that far off. Not that far off. Just wanted to show you that. Now, moving on to this. Again, in terms of, position. So this is a days ended in each league position. So, and here we go. So moving to the second tier. The reason why I want to bring this up, for all the talk of the playoffs, we were only actually in the playoff positions for 2 days. 2 days. 1 day in 5th and 1 day in 6th. Most of the time was spent 13th, 14th and 18th. And we did spend a chunk of time between 7th and 12th. But I think we need to aim to be like Sunderland, and we need to be up there above. We need to be up there. Because, they were between 1st and 6th for all season, except for 2 days where they were outside of the playoffs, where they finished 1 day in 8th and 1 day in 18th. Now, clearly the 18th was probably in the start of the season. But, that's what we need to aim for. If we're 1st or 2nd, then the confidence, then the belief, then the ticket sales, then the fans, everyone's down there, the noise is there for home games, the away games, tickets sell out. It's going to be mad. If we're in the top 2, we get draw, we drop down to 3rd or 4th. That, in my opinion, is going to be better than being outside of the table and then sneaking in. But even then, you look at Coventry, they spent a lot of time outside of the top 6, but they did end up finishing 5th, and Bristol City as well, So, is that in our capability to do that? To be at the top of the table and stay up there? Can we do it all season? Probably not, but, there is a possibility as well. If you do that, you could slip away, because you've got Blackburn here, they were up there and they dripped down. West Brom were up there, they fell down. Even Watford were up there for quite a bit and they dropped down. So, But again, there's only 1 day that matters. It's the last day of the season. Where are you then? Personally, I think it's better that we get up and then we're fighting, we have the possession, we hold on to it, rather than being between 7th and 12th and, we win, we're up there, and then the other team plays on the Sunday, they win, we're back down. I think we need to be up there and be competing and contending, and be seen as a team that's up there, rather than just this is going to be a tricky game. Now, we've got some pointers. Where's this from? vitalfootball.co.uk. It's not just a forum, they actually do things like this. So, trends, analysis and predictions for this season's championship. So, predicting the outcome is difficult, but below we look at the last 5 seasons to see if we can spot any trends to help us this campaign. Key trends. Relegation from the Premier League is a key indicator when looking at the title race. In the last 5 seasons, 4 relegated clubs have won the league. Only Leeds United last season bucked that trend, but they needed an injury time winner at Plymouth to deny Burnley success. Both finished on 100 points, and only goal difference saw Leeds lift the title. Clearly, this needs to be the starting point when trying to predict the title contenders, and therefore Southampton, Leicester and Ipswich need to be top of the list for analysis. But do they? Or is the trend gone? Did Leeds break the trend? Maybe they did. So Leicester City fit the trend, but points deduction makes life tough. The team finished third bottom in the Premier League has won 3 of the past 5 championship titles. That team is Leicester City, yeah, but the 3 teams that went down were massively adrift from the other teams in the division in the Premier League. So they were kind of on their own. They're in their own little league. Like they didn't touch anyone above them. I think it was done and dusted well before the season ended. Normally that would make them favourites for the title, but a potential 9-point deduction, a new manager and no new signings, well, they've signed the goalkeeper, sees them priced at 14-1. It's hard to back them to win the league when they might be deducted points this season. 9-2 is available on promotion, which looks the safer option for any Fox's backers. Yeah, so their second reckon they could get in the playoffs and go off via that way. Again, it's kind of weird that they haven't signed any players. You know, what's that about? Maybe, like I said, transfer window don't close until September. Maybe they're going to go with what they got until for the first month and then see if they need to sign anyone. The 9-point deduction. Now, I thought last season a 2-point deduction would affect Sheffield United because I thought that they would be behind and they would always be trying to catch up, but they hit the ground running. They absolutely smashed through it, and they were like at the top of the table for quite some time, and then they ended up drifting towards the end of the season. So the -2 points didn't really affect them at all. Tractor Boys. Next best from the Premier League trio is Ipswich. They're priced at 4-1 favourites for the title. They've kept Kieran McKenna as manager and should have money to spend on the £30 million sale of Liam Delap to Chelsea. They will hope to fend off Premier League interest in the Mari Atchison, but will have more funds available if a deal gets completed. They will surely have a strong squad come opening weekend, and they look the best bet for title winners. Well, they're having... they're being attacked by Wrexham. Wrexham are trying to sign, was it Nathan Broadhead? I don't know if they've completed that deal. I think he's still there. They don't want him go, but you're having Wrexham come after your players. So, that's an interesting one. The thing with Ipswich, they made a mistake. What is the mistake they made? They spent money to try and stay in the Premier League. What? I can hear you say, isn't that the point? Well, yes and no. So they spent all that money on Liam Delap, bringing him in. He did very well, and now he's gone. And what do they have to show for it? Money, but, what are they going to do with that money? They've already got money from the Premier League parachute payments. They would need Liam Delap. And here's the thing, that the team's mistake when they go up, and Luton made this mistake, is spending money to try and stay in the Premier League. You need to spend money to sign players that, if you go down, will stay with you and help you win the Championship the following season. You don't want players who are good enough to play in the Premier League, to play in Serie A, to play in La Liga, to play in Bundesliga, to sign for you, to try and help you stay in the Premier League. Because if you get relegated, they will want to leave. They will not want to play in the Championship. Especially if you've got a thing in their contract that if you get relegated, they get a wage deduction. So you need to sign players that could compete in the Premier League, or you expect they're good enough to play in the Premier League, but will stick around if you get relegated and will help you win the title. They're good enough to do that. And then what happens is you go up and down a couple of times, and you've acquired enough money and status that players will come to you knowing, hey, this team goes to the Premier League. If I join them in the Championship, I might be in the Premier League next year. Will Southampton be saints or sinners? Southampton are the other live contender. It'll be interesting to see how competitive they are following a disastrous Premier League season. In the last 5 seasons, the team finishing bottom have then gone on to finish 3rd, 4th, 13th, 5th and 1st. In the Championship. That gives Southampton a chance of at least a playoff spot, but Derby had a similar Premier League record back in 2008 and finished next season 18th, and it's hard to assess which path they will follow. Well, judging by the pre-season results, not the best, and they have appointed an unknown prospect as manager, Will Steele, who apparently learnt to manage on Football Manager. Bizarre. Birmingham City are currently 3rd favourites for the title, around 7-1, and this looks a very short price considering the trends. The last 5 winners of League One have achieved a best place finish of 16th the following campaign. Only one promoted team has finished in the top 5, and that was Ipswich, who got promoted in 2nd. Are Birmingham better than that Ipswich side? Possibly, but this is much tougher than League One, so at the prices they are best avoided until we know just how good they are. And again, they brought in a lot of players to bring themselves up to the standard. So you'd imagine they think they're not good enough to be at the standards, because otherwise why would they bring the players in? Best of the rest, or any surprises? Yada yada. 8-1 for Sheffield United. They look to be the biggest threat. They finished third last season. They got the new manager, and that's an unknown. The surprise winner looks tough. Middlesbrough 2021 have been strongly touted in the last few campaigns, but have fallen well short of expectations. Yeah, well, their pre-season results are dog shit as well, aren't they? Norwich 16-1 have been busy this summer and targeted Liam Mann as their new manager. He did a good job at Bristol City, and that should bring improvement to a side that finished 13th last season. However, it is enables Ipswich, who look likely winners based on trends, and they are the selection. So, again, the Norwich one is interesting. You know, Liam Manning got Bristol City into the playoffs, and he left to go to Norwich. He's from Norwich. He's gone through Norwich, and they've wisely invested in their squad. So, moving on now, we move on to predictions of other people. Gab Sutton, you may have seen his chubby face around. So, on the right hand side, we're just going to skip through it. I'm not going to read all this. If you want to read it, you can read it. This is from freebets.com. So he's written a piece for them. He's written a hell of a lot of words. Far too many words for the average man like me to read. He's got Millwall finishing 6th. He's got Ipswich to win. Burnham 2nd. He's got Southampton, Coventry, Sheffield United, and Millwall in the playoffs. So with Millwall, Southampton in the playoffs, I'll have a bit of that. I don't think that's going to happen, but whatever. He's got Leicester 7th, West Brom 8th. Norwich 9th. To go down, he's got Sheffield Wednesday, Hull, and Preston. Okay. If we go down, we don't have to go down far because he's got Millwall to be finished 6th, which I think he's the only one I've seen to put them there. So what's he say about Millwall? What are you saying? Millwall seem to have struck up upon a solution to their own unique quandary. The Lions have a strong cultural heritage of having physical, aggressive, direct sides that make the Den, old or new, an intimidating place for opponents to visit, creating a siege mentality that can allow them to outperform expectation. As much of those principles have given them some massive strengths, which have contributed to 6 top-half championship finishes on a bottom 8 budget in the last 8 seasons, it also has its limitations, especially from a developmental perspective. The South Bermondsey outfit don't have a huge amount of external investment relative to the league. They didn't under the late great John Berylson, rest in peace, who gave the club great stability, and they don't now under his son James. With that in mind, they had to get better at generating saleable assets. Although the £12 million sale of Romain asset to Crystal Palace with potential add-ons was a sizable step in the right direction, the traditional Millwall way isn't entirely conducive to developing lots of players like SA that Premier League clubs are likely to want. Then again, straying too far from those values can be dangerous as well, as you saw in Joe Edwards' ill-fated 10-week stint in 23-24, which seemed to go against the club's grain. Supporters might argue that their club wasn't conceived on the docklands of East London in 1885 with the core vision of pandering to global corporations, but they also got to be mindful of where the money is in a stretched economic climate. So they've hit the sweet spot on the nose with Alex Neil. The Scot is honest and direct in a way that supporters will like, without playing to the crowd too much, but he also shown an aptitude for developing young players in his tenures at Aberdeen and Preston North End. Was he at Aberdeen? Was he? So the exciting thing about the Lions is that having finished 7th last season as one of the championships... We didn't finish 7th last season. As one of the championship form sides after Neil was appointed in the December, they also got a huge amount of growth left in their squad. For evidence of that, look no further than 20-year-old Mihailo Ivanovic, who scored 10 of his 12 league goals under Neil, and has every chance, Alex Neil, and every chance of being one of the division's top scorers this season, rather than just Millwall's. Poached from Vojvodina last summer, the Serbian international can hit stunning strikes, and he can also bag diving heads from inside the 6-yard box. Such is the variety of his goal-scoring capability. Meanwhile, watch out for the towering goalkeeper Lucas Jensen, talented left-back Zach Sturge, direct winger Adomo Maka, recent England under-20s attacking midfielder Ray Spangor-Williams, and skillful Algeria under-23s winger Camille Negley. Elsewhere, the athletic Jeffet Tanganga has been outstanding since joining from Tottenham, and even if he gets a move later in the window, there could be a viable replacement already in the building in Tristan Kramer. Partnering Eva will be aerial dominant defender Jake Cooper, who's been a model of consistency since signing for the Lions 8 years ago and brings valuable leadership to a young squad. Meanwhile, Casper De Norre continues to offer class and solidity at the base of a midfield alongside ball carrier Bill Mitchell, who has a bit of the old Mill bite about him, even if he's been bitten himself at times by injury. So this is a talented squad of a handful of reliable operators and a potential golden boot winner led by dependable championship manager in Alex Neil, who delivered results everywhere he's been bar Stoke. And Stoke is a basket case, so he's off the hook on that one. And if the Lions can extrapolate their form in 23 matches under Neil across double that number of games, they'll get to 74 points, which would have sufficed to replace spot in 8 of the last 13 championship seasons. At this rate, there'll be more unnecessary L's in the terrace charts than on the form guide. Okay, so there you go. So yeah, again, a lot of words, but again, did he mention Josh Coburn? Don't sleep on Josh Coburn. Josh Coburn is not chopped liver. He is a very good player, and it wouldn't surprise me if he outscored Ivanovic. So there you go. He's got Millwall to finish in 6th. Now we move on to this, which is from the real EFL.co.uk. And again, we're just going to go down. They've got Mill finishing 7th. Mill finished 7th. He's got Ipswich to win. Birmingham 2nd. Southampton 3rd. Sheffield United 4th. Leicester 5th. Coventry 6th. Mill 7th. To go down, he's got Sheffield Wednesday, Preston, Hull. If we go down to Mill, Alex Neil might be the perfect fit to blend Mill's old school steel with modern development edge. The Lions were in top 6 form following Neil's December appointment and now possess a young, hungry squad capable of kicking on. Mihailo Ivanovic could be a breakout star after netting 10 goals under Neil last term, while Jake Cooper, Casper Denor and Billy Mitchell bring the bite and ballast. Reece Bangor-Williams, Camille Negley add flair. Jafet Tanganga's physical presence strengthens the defence provided he stays. There's also depth emerging with Lucas Jensen in goal, currently injured. Of course, interesting Kramer offering cover. If Millwall maintain their form for the second half of last season, 74 points is well within reach, enough to get them in the playoffs in most years. They're no longer just overachievers with grit. This is a club quietly transforming into a complete championship force. But still, not enough to finish the playoffs according to him. Moving on, after 1 hour. Can you believe it's been an hour? Yep. So... this is from starsportsbet.co.uk. Again, no endorsement. I'm just showing you what they put up. If you are going to bet responsibly. I don't endorse anything that I show you. So they got Ipswich to win the league. Southampton finished 2nd. Sheffield United 3rd. Birmingham 4th. West Brom 5th, Norwich 6th, and we're Mill 8th. Alex Neil did an excellent job turning Mill's season around after the departure of fan favourite Neil Harris, and Mill fans have every reason to be optimistic about what he might be able to deliver with a full pre-season and transfer window under his belt. With Neil's side winning 5 of their last 7 games last season, they weren't a million miles away from a playoff spot, something that seemed inconceivable when Neil arrived, with Mill languishing in the bottom half of the championship table. With some impressive signings adding to an already solid core of players, it feels like Mill have all the ingredients to be a strong force in its division again next season, albeit not quite at the level to sneak into the playoffs just yet. So again, just missing out. Always the bridesmaid, never the bride. Who have they got to go down? Again, same old 3, Sheffield Wednesday, Hull and Preston. Moving on to this is from lowertiers.co.uk. I think we got this one, and then we got one more, and then I'm going to give you my own predictions in a tier list maker. So, lowertiers.co.uk. They have Ipswich winning, Coventry 2nd. Hello. Someone's actually been paying attention, not just looking at the bookies list of favourites. Southampton finishing 3rd, Leicester 4th, Birmingham 5th. Mill 6th. Hello. After years of near misses, our championship predictions 25-26 finally see Millwall break into the playoff. Josh Coburn replaces Ian Fleming up front, and veterans like Massimo Luongo add vital experience. A club known for grit and consistency, it feels like Mill's year to finally break into the top 6. And then if we go down to the bottom of the table, who do they got? They got Sheffield Wednesday, Oxford and Charlton. So again, someone's clearly paying attention, not just copying other people and what they wrote. Now the final one is just repeated for some reason, or refreshed. Sportinglife.com from this week's ACCA, which I believe is a YouTube channel, and they got a YouTube video there. It's called This Week's ACCA. So at the bottom of the table, they're doing it in reverse order. Why not? Yeah, you want people to scroll down. Sheffield Wednesday bottom, then Preston, then Hull. Okay, we're back to the same old three. Where's Millwall at? Oh dear, 10th. I think I've underestimated Millwall when I originally compiled this list. I'm sticking with my original predictions, but I wouldn't be surprised to see them pushed into that top 6. Alex Neil looks a great fit for the club, and if he had the full season in charge, their points per game rate would have been enough to see them around the playoff picture. Striker Mihajlo Ivanovic is certainly one to keep an eye on the top goal scoring market, as outlined in my out-route preview. So yeah, the price for Ivanovic to be top scorer has come in from about 40s to 20s. A lot of people putting money on him, like a large chunk of the bet. Again, because they just see the tips and they just copy the tips. But I think like 15% of all bets on top scorer have gone for him. Obviously, each way, you get, I think, quarterly odds for the top 3 or 4. So yeah, there's that. So who has he got winning it then? Who's going in the playoffs? Birmingham in the playoffs, Sheffield United in the playoffs, Norwich in the playoffs, Coventry third. Again, someone paying attention. Southampton second. Ipswich first. Again with the Ipswich. So, there you go. Now, give me a second. Right. We're moving on. We're doing it. This is tiermaker.com. It's a tier list. You move the things around and you move them to where you think they're going to go. I'm going to give you my predictions now. The thing is, though, my laptop's playing up. The mouse pad, I need 2 hands to use it properly. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to put the microphone down, because when I do it like John Motson style, I'm holding it up. Did you hear that? Yeah, I'm holding it right up to my face, like John Motson doing commentary. Rest in peace. Is he dead? He's dead, isn't he? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna move the badge. I'm gonna start on the bottom and work my way up. I'm gonna move the badge, and then I'm gonna have to grab the microphone and come back, and I'm gonna tell you why I moved them there. Okay? Sheffield Wednesday, clearly bottom of the table. Yeah, problems. Apparently, heard something, rumours. I don't know if it was a proper story because I haven't heard much about it. The game at the weekend is going ahead, but that John Textor was like the one who messed up Crystal Palace's chances of going in the Europa League. He's apparently sold his stake in Crystal Palace and now looking at buying Sheffield Wednesday. But, they're going down. They don't have any decent players. They can't sign any decent players. They're on a transfer embargo for, I think, till 2027. So that's insane. So now we have to pick a team that's going to finish 23rd. Again, Preston, you saw the preseason results. A lot of their better players have gone there and brought in any decent replacements. They've been in League One. They've been in League One quite recently. And, the league is getting better and better, and they haven't been improving. Since financial fair play, you're kind of restricted to the income that you get. And, Alex Neil said, one of the problems that Preston Way left, they sold a load of players and didn't invest in the team, and that looks like to be a momentous mistake that's, echoing down now. Maybe they had debts they had to pay off, but, you've got to speculate to accumulate. And they didn't, and now I think the time in the Championship is up. I think they're one of the longest running teams in the Championship. Without going up or down, and I think they're going to go down now. So, now we pick a team to finish 22nd. Portsmouth. Weird one, bit of out of left field. They struggled last season. They were in the relegation places. They didn't panic. They didn't fire their manager. They kept with him. They bought like 3 or 4 players in January and helped get them out of it. But when you look at the league table, I think their home form is pretty decent, but their away form is really bad. Their away form is really, really bad. And the league is better this season. It's going to be harder this season. I don't think, if they're down there again, I don't think they can get out of it. I don't think it's going to be that hot. I think it's going to be highly contested. I think 24th and 23rd is going to be quite solidly, they're going to go down. But I think that last place is going to be contested with the teams that I'm now going to put in the table, which I would say are Charlton, Oxford, Watford and Hull. So I'll just put them in now. So there you go. And the thinking behind that, Oxford, they're struggling. They don't have the best of teams. But like I said before, when looking at the table, when you're at that bottom, you need to avoid losing games. So draws are good for you. And we know Gary Rowett, he loves a draw. He'll set the team up to draw all day long. So I think, they will survive. Probably just about. But, I think these teams will be involved in that relegation scrap. Hull City, again, they've got a transfer embargo, but I think they're gonna do just enough. Again, probably based on their home form because they're like out there at the east, a long old trip to get to. Charlton, they got a lot of League One players. They signed a lot of League One players. But it's the Championship, mate. Like, even if you bought you're not even buying the best players in League One because the best players in League One were at Birmingham, and whoever finished second. Who finished second in League One? Who came up? It was Wrexham, wasn't it? Because Charlton came up so it must have been Wrexham. Charlton came up for the playoffs, yeah. So you're not signing players from Wrexham. You're not signing players from Birmingham. You're signing the best of the rest of the League One players. So, although to be fair, we signed Jensen and Roberts from League One. They were alright. But, there's only so much you can do with League One players. There's only so much you can do. And Watford, they're a bit of basket case. Cleverly did well with them last season. He did well in circumstances. He ended up getting the sack. Which is, they're on to their 18th manager in 5 years or something like that. Ridiculous. And if they are in trouble, they are part of this group, and you would imagine they'll just loan some players over from Udinese or somewhere to get them out of trouble. So there you go. So now moving on to the mid-table teams, I need 11 to 17. 6 teams to go in mid-table, no? So bottom mid-table, okay. What's going on here? Uh-oh. Okay. Yep. There you go. So there you go. I've gone Bristol City 11th, Middlesbrough 12th, Swansea 13th, Wrexham 14th. I'm missing one. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. I'm missing one. Yeah, I'm missing one. So I need to add one more. Okay. Okay, now we got it. I've got West Brom 11th, Bristol City 12th, Middlesbrough 13th, Swansea 14th, Wrexham 15th, Derby County 16th, and QPR 17th. Again. Yeah, West Brom. I can't see how they can improve on last season. Like, they did well last season and lost 9 games as we saw on the table. I can't see how they can get better than that. It's like, everyone's thinking that, the league's harder this year. Well, if the league's harder, because you've got Birmingham, who everyone thinks is going to be fantastic, who are going to be brilliant, then someone has to drop down. Bristol City, they're the manager. The manager decided to leave. Why did he leave? Now, obviously, he had connections to Norwich, so it may have just been, I did well at Bristol, and that got me a chance at the Norwich job, and that's the job I wanted, so I'm going to go there. But he got them into the playoffs, and he just decided to quit and go to another club. So, again, that's not the best. So, now, moving on to 7, 8, 9, and 10. So there we go. Blackburn, again, just a team that they just end up doing. I thought they would get relegated last season. They didn't. How did they manage to just miss out on the playoffs? Again, how did they do it? I don't know, but they do. Birmingham, yeah, they're fantastic. They're going to, as mentioned, the team, Ipswich were the outlier. Ipswich aren't the norm. Coming up through League One and then smashing through to the Championship is not, it's not. It's not what's done. They did it. Ipswich did it, but no one else has done it. It's not really what happens. So can't see Birmingham doing that really. They're filming this documentary. I don't know if they filmed it or if they're doing another one. Going on behind the scenes. Are the players going to like that? Don't know about that. Southampton, finishing 7th. The manager, that's an unknown. Very weird. They were really bad last year. You can't just turn that around. So I don't know about that. And Stoke finishing 8th. Yeah, they've got decent squad. Wouldn't surprise me. I'm not guaranteeing. It wouldn't surprise me if they finish, just outside the playoffs or probably lower. Maybe switch them with probably West Brom and put West Brom up there. Maybe switch Blackburn Rovers with someone lower down. But yeah, I can't see them doing it. So we've got 6 teams left. Now I'm going to go to 1, 2, and then I'm going to do the playoff teams. So 1, 2. Yep, Coventry to win the league and Norwich to finish second. How bizarre. I haven't pitched Ipswich. What a contrarian I am. No, as you've seen, everyone, Frank Lampard, everyone expected, he had his one season, he's going to leave now. Him and Joe Edwards, they're cooking. They did well before, they're doing well now. And they've got a load of young players and they're just going to get better. And they've added to that by bringing in the goalkeeper from Brighton. So they clearly think that's an issue. A lot of teams in this division clearly think goalkeeping is the issue. And maybe it will be. Maybe it'll be the teams that sort out their goalkeepers are the ones at the top. And, Coventry brought in a goalkeeper. Norwich brought in a couple. We brought in one on loan. We did okay last season. But remember, both of our goalkeepers came up from League One. Now, one kept the most clean sheets, and one got into the playoffs. I think he lost in the semi-finals and the playoffs. And that was Liam Roberts. We've now got a goalkeeper coming down from the Premier League. Now, obviously, he's not playing that much in the Premier League. He was a second, but he played in cup games. He's a Premier League goalkeeper. So, there you go. Millwall third, Ipswich fourth, Leicester fifth, Sheffield United sixth. Again. Sheffield United are clearly not happy. They expected to go straight back up. They expected to finish at least in the top two. They didn't. They fell away and they sacked the manager and they pulled the escape call. Not good enough. Was that a bit drastic? They got rid of Ryan Brewster, they got rid of Kiefer Moore, brought in other players. But, it's alright getting rid of players and bringing players in. They need time to gel. And that's the thing with Coventry and Millwall. We've got a solid group of players. Now, Ipswich. Obviously, when you are doing this is the table as I think it's going to look like in May 2026. That's a long way away. There's a lot of football to be played between now and then. There's a lot of things going on off the pitch before now and then. A lot of managers going to be getting a sack probably. A lot of managers are going to be leaving. And I think one of the managers are going to be leaving is the Ipswich Town guy. Because I can see them. Obviously, they open the league. They got it's Birmingham versus Ipswich on Friday. I can see Birmingham winning that game. Because home games and away games totally different. I can see Birmingham winning at home, in front of a crowd. They've just seen them smash League One, win the title. It's going to be a full house. It's going to be banging, and I can see them winning that game. And they've got unsettled players who probably want to leave, go and play in the Premier League. The manager as well. If it doesn't start off well, a few jaws in the boardroom. Few internal meetings and the guy might, where's the gratitude? Why the attitude? And he might leave, and I would imagine, there's going to be teams opening up in the Premier League. I imagine Brentford. I can't see that working out where they've just recruited internally, where they brought in the set-piece coach to be their manager. I don't think that's going to work. Even West Ham. I think West Ham are bang in trouble. And they might come calling for the guy to come to them. Wouldn't surprise me, because what else is he going to do? And this is the thing with Ipswich. They had the momentum. A lot of teams have the momentum. We had momentum when we came up with McGee. We got in the playoffs. You push in, you win the league, you come up, you have momentum. And they had the best momentum because they did what a lot of clubs coming up into League One don't do. It's like they went up straight through twice. Through League One, through the Championship, up into the Premier League. But when they got there, they spent their money trying to stay in the league. And like I said, you don't do that. You try to build a team that can be in the Championship next season. And they haven't done that. So they've lost their main striker. They lost all these other players that are going to go. Amari Hutchinson's going to go. Nathan Broadhead's going to go. All these other players are going to leave. And then you have to, so all the players that are left are like, oh, we're chopped liver. We're the shit that no one wants. We were playing in the Premier League last year, and now we're back in the Championship. And nobody's come in for us. Nobody wants us. Like, what the fuck? You know. So there you go. I think they're going to finish fourth. Like I said, the manager's going to leave. Leicester, again, the 9-point deduction, I would imagine. Maybe without the 9 points, they'll probably finish third or second. I can see that happening. The thing with Norwich, I think Norwich's recruitment is fantastic. The manager, they got a decent manager, and then now he got Bristol City. He got Bristol City into the playoffs. They've been trying to do that for so many years, and it never happened, and he got them there. And you saw the numbers. We won more games than them, but they got in there. How did they do that? Insane. So, you know, he's going there now. He's a hometown lad. You know, he started out of Norwich, went to Ipswich. He started his career at Ipswich, played in non-league, managed in non-league. Now he's manager of Norwich. Again, I would take a point in the first game against Norwich, away at Norwich, because we never win there. But, you know, they were the second highest scorers in the league. There was a problem with their goalkeepers, and they bombed them all out. They didn't fuck around. They didn't, let's do this, let's do that. No. We're conceding too many goals. Get these fucking goalkeepers out the fuck of here and bring in new ones. And you see the teams that are put at the top, they're all improved. Everyone's trying to improve their goalkeeping. I don't know what it is. There's maybe the goalkeeping standards have gone down in the league. I have no idea. Maybe it's the ball, you know, the modern football. Maybe people have been switching from, you know, Pep Guardiola, goalkeepers can play with their feet, to goalkeepers that can actually save the fucking ball. Maybe that's a good idea to do that. Maybe everyone's switching over. I don't know. Like, maybe Tiki-Taka's dead. We will see. But, yeah, here we go. So, again, yeah, Coventry winning the league. Norwich second. Millwall third. Ipswich fourth. Leicester fifth. Sheffield United sixth. Southampton seventh, just because inexperienced manager and stuff like that. Stoke 8th, Birmingham 9th, Blackburn 10th, West Brom 11th, Bristol City 12th, Middlesbrough 13th, Swansea City 14th, Wrexham 15th, Derby 16th, QPR 17th, Watford 18th, Charlton 19th, Hull City 20th, Gary Rats Oxford 21st, and the teams to get relegated, Portsmouth, Preston, and poor old Sheffield Wednesday. And on that note, after a 90-minute video, wow, finally we get there at the end. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.